Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let me ask you one question before we begin. Have you ever been surrounded by people, yet felt completely invisible? Not lonely because no one was there, but lonely because no one noticed? If yes, this story is for you. They ignored him, not loudly, not cruelly, just quietly. As if he didn't exist. And sometimes, that kind of pain hurts the most, because when people insult you, at least they see you, but when they ignore you, it feels like you were never meant to matter at all. This is the story of a boy the world overlooked, a boy who spoke to himself because no one else listened, a boy who was ignored, until life had no choice but to notice him. Chapter 1, A Boy Lost in the Crowd. Ethan grew up in a house full of people. Yet silence followed him everywhere. His family loved him. But love doesn't always come with time. Everyone was busy surviving, bills to pay, responsibilities to carry, worries that never slept. Ethan learned something very early in life. Attention was expensive, and his family couldn't afford it. At school, he sat in the middle rows, not in the front, where teachers remembered faces, not at the back, where noise demanded attention, just there. When questions were asked, hands flew into the air. Ethan knew the answers, but his hand stayed down. Once, he raised it. The teacher looked past him and said, "Yes." Anyone else? That moment stayed with him longer than any lesson. From that day on, Ethan learned a dangerous truth. Silence feels safer than being ignored while speaking. Chapter 2, Invisible Among People. Ethan wasn't bullied, and somehow, that felt worse. No one pushed him, no one mocked him, no one even noticed him. Group projects were formed without him, lunch tables filled before he arrived, conversations slowly died when he joined. He became an expert at pretending he didn't care, at smiling politely, at disappearing quietly. At home, he locked his door and opened an old notebook. He didn't write poems, he didn't write stories, he wrote thoughts. Why does no one notice me? Is something wrong with me? Do I even matter? He never showed that notebook to anyone, because deep down, Ethan believed, if they ignore me now, they'll ignore my pain too. Chapter 3, Dreams he was afraid to say out loud. Ethan had a dream. He wanted to become someone people listened to, someone whose words mattered, someone whose presence couldn't be ignored. But every time he imagined success, a voice whispered, "People like you don't get noticed. People like you don't get that far." That voice sounded like classmates, like teachers, like life itself. So Ethan buried his dream, not because it died, but because he was afraid to hope. Chapter 4, The Day Everything Broke. One afternoon, Ethan stood in front of the class for a presentation. His hands shook, his voice trembled. Half the class was on their phones, some were whispering, the teacher was checking papers, no one was listening. Mid-sentence, Ethan stopped speaking. Silence filled the room. No one noticed. That was the moment something inside him broke, not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. That night, Ethan sat on his bed, staring at the wall, and thought, what's the point of trying if no one cares? For the first time in his life, he thought about giving up. Chapter 5, A Quiet Promise. Ethan didn't cry, he didn't scream. Instead, he made a quiet promise to himself. If they ignore me, I'll grow in silence. No announcements, no social media posts, no promises to others, just a decision. He woke up earlier, studied longer, read when others scrolled. He practiced speaking alone in his room, recorded his voice, listened, improved. Some days he felt motivated, most days he didn't, but he kept going anyway, because now, he wasn't doing it to be seen, he was doing it to prove something to himself. Chapter 6, Years no one noticed. Time passed. Ethan changed, quietly. People still ignored him. They assumed he was the same background character, the same nobody, and Ethan let them believe that. Behind closed doors, he failed, he doubted himself, he almost quit more times than he could count, but every night, he opened that old notebook, and wrote one sentence. Not today. Chapter 7, The Weight No One Saw. There were days when Ethan felt strong, and then there were days when even breathing felt heavy. Days when he watched others succeed quickly, People who were always supported, always encouraged, always noticed. And a dangerous thought crossed his mind. Maybe I'm late because I'm not meant to arrive. That thought stayed longer than he wanted. He smiled during the day, but at night, doubt sat beside him, still. Even on the weakest days, Ethan showed up, not with confidence, not with hope, but with discipline, because deep down, he believed. Even if no one believes in me, I will not abandon myself. Chapter 8, The Test of Patience. Growth didn't come with applause, it came with waiting. Months passed. Then years. Nothing changed on the outside. People still spoke over him, still forgot his name, still underestimated him. And that was the hardest part, not failing, but improving in silence while the world stayed blind. Many nights, Ethan asked, how long do I have to keep going before life answers me? Life stayed quiet, so Ethan kept moving anyway, because quitting would hurt more than being ignored ever did. Chapter 9, The Moment Life Turned. One ordinary day, Ethan was given a small opportunity, nothing glamorous, nothing impressive, just a chance. Others ignored it, Ethan didn't. He prepared like everything depended on it. Because for him, it did. When the moment came, Ethan spoke, and this time, people listened, not because he demanded attention, but because his words carried weight. Years of silence had sharpened him, years of being ignored had made him powerful. Chapter 10, When they finally saw him, the same people who once overlooked him now asked, when did you become so confident? When did you get so good? Ethan smiled. They wouldn't understand. They didn't see the lonely nights, the silent struggles, the invisible growth. They only saw the result, and that was enough. Final message, for you, if you're listening to this right now, feeling unseen, feeling ignored, feeling forgotten, remember this, some people grow in sunlight, others grow in darkness. Being ignored doesn't mean you're unimportant, it means your transformation is happening quietly. One day, the same world that ignored you, will ask how you became so strong, and when that day comes, you won't need to explain. They ignored him, but they couldn't ignore who he became.